Okay, so we're going to talk about one-touch knockouts and one-hit knockouts with Wing Chun. And there are two methods we're going to do. And so I'll start you off with the first one here. So come on out here. First one, this is the one that my instructor used the most, even though it's not the one I've seen most commonly for most Wing Chun. And that was he used heavy, and like a heavy hand kind of a way of doing that. So if you'll hold the hand out there, and I'm going to make sure I'm coming this way, this is me just dropping my hand normally, and then I'm going to do everything I can to make my body and everything else super heavy, and my arm heavy, and drop again. Heavier or no? And you have to ask your partner. You might be able to tell, but better off to ask it first. And so heavier yet. Is that heavier? Heavier? A little less. Is that heavier? And then also, so do that one, and the other thing to do is to take your, so do the drops first, like that. If it's hurting too much, grab a hand pad or something and put on and do it. And then the other one is, I'm standing here and I'm pushing him. This is still with the heavy. Not heavy yet, this is just me doing this. And then how heavy can I do that? Like on the drop, and then with that heaviness, and that was heavier, and then heavier yet. Is that heavier? Yeah. Right, this way. And I'm trying to make them as heavy as I can. Heavier? Yeah. And keep making them as heavy as you can and get the feedback from your partner. Do that much and then we'll do some more. Okay, so come on out here. Have your partner put on arm pads like what we've got that Logan's put on, or thicker. There's different ones. And then same thing with the heaviness, where you are this way, and I'm going to try to get even heavier. Now notice I'm not doing this with the heavy. I'm not trying to come fast. You can, and obviously you want to, and if you're like, I'm not sure if I could do that fast, by all means check that out. But the heaviness from any position as a start, not a wind up out here. Is that heavy? Heavier. Heavy? Heavier or less?
About the same.
About the same, he says. That was heavier. And then also across. Heavier?
Yeah.
By the way, when you're dropping like this, be careful not to let your elbows not go all the way out, because if you're not used to it, you'll have enough weight going. If you're really doing it right, you break your own elbow just due to the weight drop and the snapping straight of the elbow. So if you watch this, my elbow is still bent. My elbow is still bent. And across, my elbow is still bent. And this side too, same arm that way. Heavy. Heavier. Heavier?
Yes.
And then be able to do that stuff, hold the other one up. Hold it up here. And be able to, and then heavier. Right? Like that. Do that much. So now when we go to make our contact and we're in, everything being correct, like the first lesson basically, here, and rolling, as soon as he makes contact with me, I want him to have pressure from me. I want that pressure, in this case, to be heavy. So what happens is that it's heavy enough that it just plows through him. And so if he tries to come even over top, that's okay. The heaviness then is dropped or dropped onto it. Drop also here, so that it's either to break the arm, or now be careful with your partner, or to really kind of access the point, and then there you go. And it's this with that heaviness where they're getting that weight. And then when they're doing this, you turn that weight on so it's heavy, even though you're in here, like that. to the camera. Be careful not to smack him in the head with this. And notice how it's on the arm, so okay, pull the arm down, and it's heavy. Be careful. But you're trying to make it so that whenever they make the contact, I'm heavy to him now. On the whole at the point of contact the entire time. So watch everybody play for a minute. What I basically saw, and this is due to the struggle of learning and trying to work with it, and also being careful, hopefully, notice everybody here was, that there was sort of a little bit of this kind of a thing going on. And let me get it in there kind of fast. And what I would recommend to you is to do it slower and heavier. And of course, everybody's jockeying for the upward position. Slower, heavier. Right? And go slow enough so that you can really work with being heavy while you're in there. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do now to help with this a little bit, come out here, Logan, is I want you to actually kind of stay towards the middle and be defensive. In other words, don't go after them. Let them go to try to circumvent you to get into you to hit you. So you're playing freestyle, chi style a little bit. You'll keep going, trying to get me. And then as he's in there, I'll start putting him heavy right where we're at. So notice I went back to this, and as he starts to get around there a little bit, that's when I went heavy. That's when I went heavy. And then I went ahead and drove it in heavy. Only when it was that obvious that you just had nothing in the way to defend against it with. This. Otherwise, I'm just defensive, but heavy. And that's helping me work on being heavy like that. So I'm being defensive, but I'm heavy the whole time, but I'm not laying that heaviness on them. So I'm heavy, I'm not letting them know it, and then as they start to kind of circumvent or come around, then I drop that heaviness on them at that point. So I'm heavy now, he brings his hands out, we're doing this stuff. I'm heavy now. He can feel a little bit of that there, but I'm not trying to be overly offensive at the moment. I'm letting him do that. Now I'm heavy, and I'm not putting all that heaviness on him. So even if he comes off there, I'm still where I'm at, kind of heavy. So then from here, he starts to get a place to come around, like, and see where he's at, and see where I'm at here. Right? And keep going. And so it's there like that. So I'm doing defensive, 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 defensive. He's too worried about getting hit with these heavy ones, so he's not attacking really. Which is okay, but it doesn't let me do quite what I'm telling you. And so watch, if I just did this light, it'd be for where he's at, it'd be that. It's not, it's heavy the whole time, and I'm waiting. And so then when I touch him with it, it's okay, be careful with your partner. So then once you've trained this a bit, it should get to the place where if somebody was here, for instance, you just put your arm on them and it goes just like that. It'll cut right through them. And notice I'm not doing this. Didn't have to. It's just here and it's that. Or same thing on both, let's say you're this way, both sides, this way, right? And then from there, literally, and then you're on. Bang. For more advanced on the heavy itself, this idea, see the one hit, one touch knockouts, power package. Also, the iron palm is going to have some of this in it. It's going to have some other things too. but that takes you beyond where we're at